Gentlemen, listen closely. What I'm about to share could be the turning point between living with power and fading quietly into weakness. Because right now in kitchens across America, there are foods that look harmless, comforting even, but are quietly sabotaging your testosterone, draining your energy, and yes, stealing the fire that once made you feel alive. I've met too many good men who shrug and say, "Doc, I guess this is just what getting older feels like." But that's a lie age has been selling for decades. You are not broken, you are not finished. You are simply being misled by the foods on your plate. My name is Dr. Jonathan Prescott, professor of urology and men's health specialist for over 30 years. I've sat across from thousands of men just like you who came to me tired, frustrated, and quietly afraid that their best years were gone. I've seen what low testosterone does. The fatigue, the loss of drive, the slow erosion of confidence. But I've also seen the miracle of what happens when a man takes control again. When he understands which foods heal him and which foods are slowly killing his strength. And that's what this episode is all about: 4 everyday foods that destroy testosterone and 4 that rebuild it from the ground up. The truth might shock you, but it could also restore everything you thought was gone for good. Before we dive in, I want to ask for one small thing. If you value your health, your strength, your manhood, hit that like button right now. Because when you do, you're not just supporting this channel. You're sending a signal to yourself that you still care about the man you're becoming. May that click remind you that strength can return. May it bless you with renewed energy in the morning. And may it bring back that quiet confidence, the kind that makes a man stand tall again. So go ahead, like, subscribe, and join me as we uncover the hidden truth about your food, your hormones, and your vitality. Because this, gentlemen, is where your comeback begins. Let's start with one of the most misunderstood foods in America. Eggs, especially the yolks. I can't tell you how many times I've had a man in his 60s or 70s sit across from me, shoulders slumped, voice low, saying, "Doc, I don't get it. I eat clean. I stay away from eggs. I do everything they told me to." And then he wonders why his energy's gone, his drive has vanished, and his mornings feel heavier than ever. I usually ask, "What do you eat for breakfast?" Almost every time he says it proudly, like he's earned a plus in nutrition. "Oatmeal and toast, doc. Haven't touched an egg in 20 years. That's when I lean back, look him in the eye, and tell him something that shocks most men. Testosterone is literally built from cholesterol. And eggs, especially those golden yolks everyone's been trained to fear, are one of the richest, most natural sources of the raw materials your body needs to make testosterone. For decades, men were told cholesterol was the enemy. Doctors warned that eggs would clog your arteries, raise your heart risk, and ruin your health. But research has turned that old dogma on its head. We now know that moderate egg consumption does not increase heart disease risk for most men. In fact, the nutrients in those yolks, vitamin D, B6, choline, and healthy fats actually support hormone production and balance. I remember a patient named Martin Brooks, 70 years old, former Marine, proud and disciplined. He had given up eggs for 2 decades because his doctor told him to. When I first met him, his testosterone was low, his energy was non-existent, and intimacy with his wife had quietly disappeared. I convinced him to bring back 2 whole eggs a day, boiled, scrambled, whatever he liked. 3 months later, he came in grinning like a young man. His morning energy was back. His blood work showed stronger hormone levels, and his wife, who came to the appointment with him, took my hand and said softly, "Thank you, Dr. Prescott. You gave me my husband back." That's not magic, that's biology. Egg yolks are a biochemical symphony, a perfect balance of protein, fat, and micronutrients that fuel testosterone production at its source. They help your body create pregnenolone, the precursor to testosterone and other vital hormones. Without it, your hormone factory stalls. And here's something most men never realize. When you cut out cholesterol entirely, your liver has to work overtime to produce it from scratch. That means more stress, more fatigue, and fewer resources left for making the hormones that keep you strong, focused, and virile. Now, I'm not telling you to eat a dozen eggs a day or ignore your doctor's advice if you've got specific medical conditions. But for most healthy men over 50, 2 whole eggs a day, not just whites, can do more for your testosterone than any supplement on a shelf. So tomorrow morning, when you reach for that toast or that instant oatmeal, ask yourself a question. Are you fueling your body or starving it of what it truly needs? Eggs are nature's affordable, accessible hormone support system. They're not the enemy, they are your ally. Gentlemen, when you crack open that yolk, think of it as cracking open a door to energy, strength, and the man you still are beneath the years. And if this part resonates with you, if you've been avoiding eggs out of habit or fear, tell me in the comments. Will you try bringing them back this week? Type 1 if you're in, 0 if you're still unsure. Because I read those comments and trust me, your small step today could inspire another man to take his. Up next, we'll talk about a food from the sea, one that doesn't just help your testosterone but powers the very thing most men over 60 wish they could restore: circulation and confidence. Now let's talk about the other side of the plate, the part most men don't want to hear about. Because while eggs can build your hormones, processed meats can quietly destroy them. Bacon, sausages, hot dogs, deli meats, they taste like nostalgia. They remind you of Sunday breakfasts, ball games, or tailgates with your buddies. But behind that smoky flavor lies a biochemical ambush. These foods are loaded with preservatives, nitrates, and hydrogenated fats that wage war against your testosterone, your arteries, and your strength. I once treated a man named Robert Hines, 71, a retired construction foreman. Strong hands, proud posture, the kind of man who built half his town with his own labor. But his energy was gone, his blood pressure was high, and intimacy with his wife had faded to memory. When I asked about his diet, he laughed. "Doc, it's simple: bacon for breakfast, hot dogs for lunch, and a cold-cut sandwich for dinner." It didn't take long to see the connection. His blood work showed inflammation markers through the roof. His testosterone was below normal, and his arteries were stiff and sluggish. I told him, "Robert, those foods you've loved your whole life, they're loving you back in all the wrong ways." Here's what most men don't realize: those chemicals in processed meats, the nitrates, the sodium, the trans fats, damage the very lining of your blood vessels. That means less flexibility, less blood flow, and less life in the moments where blood flow matters most. Even worse, the unhealthy fats in these meats promote insulin resistance, the enemy of testosterone. When your body becomes resistant to insulin, your hormones get confused. Estrogen rises, testosterone falls, and you start feeling tired, heavy, and disconnected from the man you used to be. I'm not saying you can never eat bacon again. Life's too short for that kind of punishment. But I am saying this: make bacon the exception, not the habit. If you want the flavor, go for nitrate-free turkey bacon or fresh lean cuts instead of prepackaged meat. Grill a piece of chicken or salmon. Slice up roast beef you cook yourself. When Robert finally switched from his daily deli sandwich to grilled chicken with vegetables, he came back 3 months later a different man. His energy was up, his face had color again, and he said, "Doc, I thought I'd be giving up comfort food, but I was giving up my comfort zone." Gentlemen, we all have to face that moment of truth, when something that once brought us comfort is now costing us our vitality. Your testosterone doesn't stand a chance against the constant assault of processed foods. Every slice of bacon, every hot dog, every deli sandwich is a small trade, convenience now for weakness later. So ask yourself, is the taste of a few minutes worth losing the strength that defines you as a man? You don't need to become a monk, you just need to become aware. Because awareness is where power begins. And if you've been guilty of leaning too hard on those processed meats, drop me a comment below. Tell me your biggest challenge when trying to change your diet. I might pick one or two of your comments to respond to in our next episode, and together we'll make sure your next meal builds you up, not breaks you down. Now that we've faced the villain on your plate, it's time to meet your strongest ally. One that swims in the cold waters of the ocean and carries the power to reignite your circulation, your focus, and your vitality from the inside out. If eggs rebuild your testosterone from the ground up, fatty fish power it like jet fuel. Salmon, sardines, mackerel, these aren't just heart-healthy foods. They're hormone builders, circulation boosters, and in many ways the lifeblood of a man's vitality. I remember a patient named George Miller, a retired firefighter, 68. He was a good man, the kind who still mowed his lawn, fixed his neighbor's fence, and refused to admit he was slowing down. But when he came to see me, he looked tired. His grip was weaker. His blood work told me his testosterone was sliding. When I asked about his diet, he said proudly, "Plenty of red meat, doc, real food. I don't touch fish. Smells like the ocean floor." That's when I told him the truth. His body was starving for the kind of fats only found in the sea. Omega-3 fatty acids, the magic hidden inside fatty fish, do what no pill or powder can. They reduce inflammation, lower cortisol, improve blood flow, and protect the very arteries that deliver oxygen and testosterone throughout your body. You see, testosterone isn't produced in isolation. It's part of a symphony. If your blood vessels are stiff, your cells can't receive the signal to create or use testosterone effectively. Your brain and your body drift out of sync. Omega-3s restore that rhythm. And here's the kicker, they don't just help your hormones. They supercharge your circulation, which means stronger heart function, quicker recovery after exercise, and yes, improved performance where it matters most. After a few weeks on his new plan, 2 servings of salmon a week, one of sardines, George came back to my office. He looked younger, his posture straighter. He grinned and said, "Doc, I don't know what's in that fish, but my wife told me to keep eating it." Science backs his story. Studies show that men who regularly eat fatty fish have higher testosterone, lower triglycerides, and better cognitive performance. Omega-3s even influence Leydig cells, the tiny factories in your testes that produce testosterone. When they get the right nutrients, they work more efficiently, like oiling the gears of your body's most powerful machine. Now, if you're reading this thinking, "Doc, as I can't stand fish, let me give you a workaround." You don't have to force yourself to eat sardines out of a can. Try baked salmon with lemon and olive oil. Try mackerel grilled with herbs or smoked on the weekend. Or if you really can't do it, a high-quality fish oil supplement can bridge the gap. But remember, nothing beats the real thing. Because when you eat fish, you're not just feeding your body, you're giving your arteries, brain, and hormones the nourishment of a living system designed for vitality. Most men think testosterone only comes from the gym or a prescription. But nature already wrote the formula. Sunlight, movement, and food rich in healthy fats. George still sends me an email every now and then. His subject lines are always short, "Still cooking salmon, still feeling good." And that's the point. Consistency builds vitality, not extremes. So if you've gone years avoiding fish, give your body the chance to remember what real circulation feels like. Add it twice a week. Make it part of your rhythm, because blood flow is life and nothing fuels that flow like the power of the sea. And now, before we move on to the next powerful booster, let's talk about something that silently wrecks all that progress. A sweet comfort most men never suspect of being their biggest hormonal thief. If there's one enemy that disguises itself best, it's sugar. It doesn't smell like danger. It doesn't scream testosterone killer. It hides in pastries, bread, sauces, and healthy snacks. But for men over 60, refined carbs and sugar are the silent thieves of strength, energy, and desire. I remember a man named Frank Alvarez, 72. He was a kind grandfather who always had a jar of cookies in his kitchen for his grandkids. He smiled when he told me about it until we got to the real reason he came in. He said, "Doc, I don't wake up with energy anymore. I can't lose the belly, and honestly, I don't feel like myself." When we checked his blood work, it was crystal clear: high insulin, low testosterone, inflammation everywhere. Sugar had been his quiet undoing. Here's the truth most men don't want to face: every spike in blood sugar is a blow to your testosterone. When you eat refined carbs, white bread, pasta, cereal, soda, cookies, your blood sugar skyrockets. Your body releases insulin to bring it back down. But over years of this cycle, your body stops listening. You become insulin resistant, and when that happens, your testosterone production drops like a rock. And that's not all. High blood sugar damages your blood vessels, the same arteries responsible for delivering testosterone and oxygen throughout your body. So even if your hormone levels look okay on paper, your cells can't use them properly. The result? You feel sluggish, you lose muscle faster, you start noticing those quiet frustrations in the bedroom that no man likes to talk about. Frank told me something that stuck with me. He said, "Doc, I never thought a cookie could do that much harm." But after cutting sugar for a few months, everything changed. He lost weight. His energy came back. He even joked that his wife started hiding his shirts again because he looked too good for church. That's the power of removing the poison. Now I know what you're thinking: "Doc, do I have to give up everything sweet?" No, you have to get smart about it. It's not about perfection, it's about awareness. Here's what I tell every man over 60. If a food comes in a box, bag, or bottle, check the label. If sugar is in the first 3 ingredients, it's not a treat. It's a trap. Replace sodas with sparkling water and lemon. Trade candy bars for a handful of walnuts. Use honey or fruit instead of processed sweets. The goal isn't to live a joyless life, it's to live a powerful one. Sugar gives you a high for a minute and steals your drive for a week. It seduces your taste buds while sabotaging your hormones. It makes aging feel heavier than it has to be. I've watched countless men reclaim their vitality not through expensive supplements or miracle pills, but by doing this one thing: removing refined sugar from their daily life. It's not glamorous, but it's effective, and that's what matters. So tonight, before you reach for dessert, ask yourself a question: is this momentary pleasure worth another day of fatigue, fog, and frustration? Gentlemen, your hormones are listening to every bite. Feed them sugar and they fall silent. Feed them strength and they roar back to life. If this hits home, drop a "Yes, Doc" in the comments. And if you're one of the brave few already fighting the sugar war, tell me what your hardest craving has been, because next episode I just might read your comment on air. Now, let's move from what weakens you to what rebuilds you: the foods that calm stress, sharpen your nerves, and give your testosterone a second wind when life has taken its toll. When men ask me what they can snack on that actually helps their hormones, I always smile and say, grab a handful of nuts and seeds, and no, I'm not joking. Because these tiny powerhouses do what most supplements only claim to do: they nourish your testosterone from the inside out. I'll never forget Leonard Hayes, 74, a retired math teacher. Sharp mind, gentle voice, but he'd been running on fumes. He told me, "Doc, I've tried everything: vitamins, powders, all that stuff from TV, but I still feel drained." When I asked what he ate for snacks, he shrugged. Crackers, maybe chips if they are around, sometimes nothing. That's when I told him something most men overlook: minerals are the backbone of testosterone. Without enough zinc and magnesium, your body simply cannot manufacture the hormone that keeps you strong, alert, and alive. And guess what's packed with both? Walnuts, pumpkin seeds, almonds, sunflower seeds. These aren't just snacks, they are your hormonal repair crew. Zinc fuels testosterone production directly, while magnesium helps regulate cortisol, the stress hormone that strangles testosterone if left unchecked. Most older men are quietly starving for both. Years of processed food, low-nutrient diets, and reduced absorption with age leave your body depleted. And when that happens, your testosterone slowly collapses. I told Leonard to ditch the chips and start carrying a small bag of mixed nuts, walnuts, and pumpkin seeds especially. One handful a day every day, nothing fancy. 2 months later, he came back with a spring in his step. His eyes were clearer, his energy steadier. And with a grin, he said, "Doc, I don't know what's in those walnuts, but my wife hasn't stopped smiling since." That's not coincidence, that's chemistry. Because when you feed your body what it's been missing, everything starts working again: your metabolism, your mood, your confidence. So if you're looking for the simplest change with the biggest impact, start here. A small handful of nuts or seeds each day, not a jar, just a handful. Consistency beats quantity. And if you've ever thought, "I'm too old for things to change," remember Leonard. He didn't need a prescription, just a pocket full of nutrition. Gentlemen, these foods aren't new. They've been quietly waiting in grocery aisles and kitchen cupboards all along. They're affordable, accessible, and they deliver the minerals most men are missing. Your body is a machine. It can't build strength without raw materials. And nature built nuts and seeds to provide exactly that. So here's my challenge: tomorrow afternoon, skip the cookie, skip the chips, and reach for walnuts or pumpkin seeds instead. Do it for a week. You'll feel the difference. And when you do, tell me in the comments below. I want to know what changed first for you: your sleep, your mood, or your energy. Because each one is a sign your body is waking up again. Now, let's move from what fuels your hormones to what quietly confuses them: a so-called healthy food that can tip the balance of your masculinity if you're not careful. Here's where things get tricky, because not every food that looks healthy is actually helping your hormones. One of the biggest culprits, soy. Now before you panic, let me be clear: soy isn't evil. It's not poison, but for men over 60, eating too much of it can quietly tip your hormonal balance in the wrong direction. I met a man named David O'Connell, 65, a retired high school principal. Calm, thoughtful, and disciplined, the kind of man who followed every health trend by the book. He'd switched from milk to soy milk years ago, ate tofu 3 or 4 times a week, drank soy protein shakes after walks. He smiled proudly when he told me, "Doc, I'm plant-based now." But his story wasn't adding up. He exercised, he slept well, yet he told me, "I feel softer, weaker, just not myself anymore." When his blood work came in, it was all there in black and white. Testosterone had dropped, and estrogen had climbed higher than it should for a man his age. The culprit wasn't his age, it was his diet. You see, soy contains phytoestrogens, plant-based compounds that mimic estrogen in the body. A little bit here and there, fine. But when soy becomes your main protein source, your body starts to respond as if it's getting small doses of estrogen every day. For younger men, that usually isn't a big deal. But once you hit your 60s, when testosterone is already fighting an uphill battle, this extra push toward estrogen can quietly drain your energy, soften your muscle tone, and flatten your drive. I told David to cut his soy intake in half, replace soy milk with regular milk or oat milk, skip the protein bars, and keep tofu to once a week. 2 months later, he came back shaking his head. "Doc," he said, "I didn't realize how much better I could feel. My energy's up, my gut's flatter, and my wife keeps saying I look different in a good way." That's what balance does. Soy in moderation is fine, a few edamame beans, a bit of tofu, no problem. But the key word here is moderation. Because when soy becomes your go-to meal, your hormones start to shift in ways that don't favor testosterone. So, as if you've been reaching for soy milk or plant protein bars thinking they're the healthy choice, pause and ask yourself, are they helping you or quietly dulling the edge you used to have? Gentlemen, your body listens to what you feed it every single day. It adapts to survive or it adapts to decline. And the line between those two is thinner than you think. Drop a comment if this surprised you. And if you've already cut soy and noticed a difference, tell me how your body responded, because your story might help another man out there see what's possible. Now, if soy tilts the scale the wrong way, the next food does the exact opposite. It doesn't just protect your testosterone, it strengthens your circulation, lowers your stress, and reminds your body how to feel alive again. Every now and then, modern science finally admits that ancient wisdom was right all along. And when it comes to restoring strength and vitality in men, few examples are as striking as the pomegranate. For centuries, kings and warriors drank its juice before battle, believing it fueled courage and endurance. They didn't know the biochemistry, but they knew how it made them feel. Today, science has caught up, and what ancient men called the fruit of life, we now know boosts testosterone, circulation, and confidence, all from something you can buy at the grocery store. I once treated Martin Brooks, the same Marine you met earlier in our talk about eggs. After he rebuilt his testosterone with better fats and nutrients, he asked, "Doc, what's one thing I can add to push it even higher, something natural?" I told him to try pomegranate juice 3 times a week. Pure, unsweetened, deep red. He looked skeptical. "Fruit juice, doc, that's your big secret weapon?" I smiled. "Give it time." 3 weeks later, he came back with a grin and a story. His blood pressure had improved, his mood was lighter, and his wife, well, let's just say she had no complaints. That's not coincidence, that's chemistry. Studies have shown pomegranate can raise testosterone by as much as 20 to 25% in just 2 weeks. The antioxidants inside it protect your blood vessels, making them more flexible and efficient, which means better oxygen flow, better circulation, and stronger performance where you need it most. But it doesn't stop there. Pomegranate also reduces cortisol, your stress hormone, and here's why that matters. When cortisol is high, testosterone plummets. When cortisol drops, testosterone has room to rise. That's why men who add pomegranate often notice not just physical changes, but emotional ones too: calmer mornings, sharper focus, a deeper sense of control. And unlike most so-called testosterone boosters, this one doesn't come in a bottle with fine print. It grows on a tree. A glass of pure pomegranate juice or a handful of fresh seeds a few times a week, that's all it takes. No gimmicks, no prescriptions. Just a return to what worked for men long before marketing existed. And if you're worried about sugar, remember this: pomegranate isn't candy. The natural sugars are bound with fiber and polyphenols that actually help your blood vessels and liver process them properly. When I see a man rediscovering his strength, I often tell him, your body remembers how to feel young, it just needs the right reminders. Pomegranate is one of those reminders. So the next time you pass by that strange-looking fruit at the store, don't ignore it. It might look unassuming, but it carries centuries of proof and a dose of modern science behind it. Add it to your week, see how you feel after a month. Then come back and tell me in the comments, does your body remember what it feels like to be alive again? Because if you do, you'll understand why I call it the forgotten power fruit. Now, before we close, let's take a short break to answer some of your comments and questions. The ones that challenge, provoke, or even tease. Because that's how real conversations between men should be. Before we wrap up, I want to pause for something I truly value: your voices. I read your comments, your doubts, your sarcasm, and your success stories. And I have to say, gentlemen, they are the heartbeat of this channel. So today, I'm going to answer a few of the most common and the most honest questions you've left under previous videos. Let's dig in. Question 1. Doc, are you seriously saying I can't have bacon ever again? What's life without a little breakfast joy? I love this one because it's honest. Look, I'm not the bacon police. I'm the reality guy. One slice once in a while isn't the problem. It's the daily habit that turns comfort into poison. So here's my rule: bacon is for memories, not for maintenance. Have it on a Sunday morning with your grandkids, not 7 days a week. That way it stays a pleasure, not a punishment. Question 2. Does eating raw eggs boost testosterone faster? My buddy swears by it. The Rocky Balboa diet. Here's the truth: raw eggs don't give you more testosterone. They just give you a higher chance of getting salmonella. The nutrients that support testosterone, cholesterol, vitamin D, B6 are all still there when cooked. So boil them, fry them, scramble them, whatever you like, just keep them safe. You don't have to act like a boxer from the 70s to be a man. Question 3. I'm vegan, doc. Am I doomed? Not at all, but you'll have to be strategic. Your testosterone doesn't care about ideology, it cares about nutrients. If you're plant-based, focus on nuts, seeds, avocados, olive oil, zinc, and magnesium. Cut back on processed soy and make sure you're getting vitamin B12 and D3 through supplements or fortified foods. It's not impossible, but it's a high-maintenance path. Treat your nutrition like a mission, not a statement. Question 4. My wife says pomegranate juice has too much sugar. Should I skip it? Tell your wife she's half right. Most bottled pomegranate juices are loaded with added sugar, but pure unsweetened pomegranate juice or fresh seeds are the real deal. A glass 3 times a week won't spike your blood sugar like soda will. It'll strengthen your arteries, lower stress hormones, and support testosterone naturally. So yes, skip the brands that taste like candy and choose the ones that taste like medicine from nature. Question 5. I quit beer but love red wine. Is that okay? A man after my own heart. Yes, in moderation, red wine can actually help. It's rich in antioxidants like resveratrol, which improve circulation and support heart health. But here's the key: 1 glass, not 1 bottle, not a weekend marathon. Think of red wine as a ritual, not an escape. Drink it with dinner, not to forget the day. That's how you protect your hormones and your dignity at the same time. Question 6. Doc, I typed 0 on your last video, but you actually changed my mind. Respect. You, sir, are exactly why I keep doing this. Men like you remind me that change doesn't happen with lectures, it happens with truth and the courage to face it. Typing 1 or 0 isn't about ego, it's about reflection. And the fact that you came back tells me you're taking your health seriously now. Gentlemen, your comments matter. They shape what I talk about, they challenge me to be better. And they help thousands of other men who are quietly struggling to find answers. So keep them coming, ask hard questions. Doubt me if you must, but don't stop learning. Now let's bring it all home. Because what comes next isn't just a conclusion, it's a call to reclaim what's yours, your vitality, your strength, and your manhood. Gentlemen, after 30 years of studying men's health, I can tell you one simple truth: it's rarely age that takes a man's strength. It's neglect. It's believing the lie that decline is inevitable. But tonight, you've learned otherwise. You've learned that the real battle for your testosterone isn't fought in a clinic, it's fought on your plate. You've seen how eggs rebuild your hormones from the ground up, how fatty fish keep your arteries young and your blood flowing like it used to, how nuts and seeds refill the minerals that time slowly drains away, and how pomegranate rekindles the fire that life, stress, and age try to put out. You've also faced the truth about the enemies: processed meats, sugar, soy, and alcohol, the quiet assassins of manhood that slip into your day and steal your vitality one meal at a time. But here's the good news: you can change this story. Not by chasing perfection, but by making one choice today. Replace one bad habit with one good one. Skip the bacon, add an egg, put down the soda, pour some pomegranate juice. Trade the beer for water, the chips for walnuts. These choices aren't small. They are declarations of strength, of self-respect, of life. And listen to me, as someone who has watched hundreds of men transform, your body remembers. It remembers what energy feels like. It remembers what desire feels like. And the moment you start feeding it what it needs, it begins to respond quickly, powerfully, faithfully. So my challenge to you is this: don't let this video fade into the noise of your day. Do something with it. Pick one change. Live it. Then tell me in the comments below what you felt first: more energy, better sleep, stronger mornings. Because your progress might just be the spark another man needs to start his own comeback. And before you go, if you found value here, hit that like button. Not for me, for yourself. Because every time you click, you're choosing life over decline, action over excuses, and belief over resignation. May your next morning be lighter. May your blood flow stronger. And may you never forget it's never too late to become the man you were meant to be. This is Dr. Jonathan Prescott reminding you your strength isn't gone, it's waiting.